So if you follow me on Twitter, then you would have gotten the tweet where I basically said, skip the latest chapter of Boruto, it's the same shit. Which granted, there are tiny differences between the manga and the movie, Boruto Naruto the movie, but I guess the biggest change is what I talked about a couple months back, where we got the new design for Momoshiki and what the combination of the two Otsutsuki family members looks like, and it's a way better design, so we talked about that, but I read the latest chapter, so I feel as though, in a weird way, I'm taking the abuse for you guys, so you guys don't have to bear the strangulation of reading the same shit at a slower pace than you could watch the film. I took the L for you guys, don't worry. I read the latest chapter of Boruto, and obviously, again, there's some, big similarities, there's tiny changes between the movie and the manga, but there's, for the most part, big similarities, but it really just got me thinking about the villains in the Naruto universe. We've had some crazy villains, but we've started off with people like Zabu's, normal, that are pretty strong, but for the most part, normal shinobi that had some pretty cool techniques and ultimately was a strong dude, but nothing compared to what we got into later on in the series from, the Orochimarus and Madaras and Kaguyas and stuff like that. But one of the things that really just stood out to me about this chapter is it made me really think and question, like, Momoshiki essentially is the strongest villain in the Naruto universe to date. Because prior to that, we again had Madara and Kaguya and stuff like that, but you gotta think for a second, okay, Naruto and Sasuke, they fought Madara, Kaguya, Obito, the Jubi, all of that stuff when they were like 15, 16, 17, they were teenagers at that point. Where they're fighting right now in the Boruto stuff, the Boruto manga and the Boruto movie, they were adults. They were, pretty old at that point. They were in their late 20s, I'm assuming, maybe early 30s, but more or less they're adults. So you automatically, no matter what it appears to be, have to assume they've gotten a lot stronger. I mean, with age comes wisdom, right? So you gotta assume immediately they're at the peak of their potential. I mean, you could argue maybe they're rusty, Naruto especially, because he's just sitting on his ass in an office all day, but for the most part, the only argument you could have is maybe at the very least Naruto is rusty. Sasuke, he's been out in the field. I mean, he went on his journey after the end of the Naruto manga and between the events of the last and of course the Boruto stuff. I don't think Sasuke's rusty, so at the very least you could argue that Sasuke is definitely at the peak of his potential. They're fighting this guy, and for the most part, I mean, at the end of the latest chapter, they took him out prior to that whole thing where the scientist guy shows up and does something stupid or whatever, but for the most part, they're at the peak of their potential. So essentially, this guy is the strongest, but when you compare him to people like Madara and Kaguya, it just makes me think, like, is this really it? Is Momoshiki, this kind of dry, no backstory having character, the true biggest threat the Narutoverse has ever faced? Because it's kind of like, when you think of it in that aspect, the fact that there's really no backstory other than, yes, we want the tree, because in case anybody missed it and they don't really understand what was the whole point of the villains in Boruto Naruto the movie, essentially when we found out about Kaguya and how she's essentially like an alien race in a way, and these guys pretty much were coming to get from that tree, and Kaguya, she was preparing by creating that white Zetsu army to fight them back or whatever, but the only reason she was really creating that army wasn't because she was weak personally, because again, we've seen Kaguya, they had to struggle to defeat Kaguya. Not that she was doing massive damage or whatever, but when you think the fact that they couldn't kill her, the only way they could get rid of her was to seal her away, that shows the potential. And you compare that to Momoshiki and what he is, I mean, he does look credible in the manga, the fact that, and this is probably another discussion in and of itself, but when you look at the chapter in chapter 8, and I think it was the same in the movie, again, I'm not really sure, I've seen the movie a couple times, but for the most part, the manga has just been draining my soul. Again, I'm doing this for you guys, right? I'm doing this for you guys, but reading it and comparing it or whatever, the new Kage suck. Like, comparatively speaking, I mean, again, you could argue that the old Kage got bodied by Madara, but I think that they definitely put up a way better fight against Madara than the new Kage put up against Momoshiki. Like, they got bodied so quick, and it was all due to taijutsu. So essentially, again, this is the peak. This is the strongest villain. If the new Kage, Gaara, the Mizukage, like all of the new ones, which again, they're supposed to be the supreme team, the new Kage, and they get bodied by taijutsu. So again, that makes it and signifies, oh shit, Momoshiki is the true root shit. But towards the end of the chapter as well, it's just kind of like, what the hell is going on? I'm hoping that it's kind of replaying, but in a different way, the ending of the movie, because it's seemingly they're putting all their trust into Boruto making a Rasengan. And if 5 Kage, Naruto, and Sasuke weren't able to be enough to completely eradicate him, then how is Boruto going to do it? But that's besides the point. Honestly, just looking at Momoshiki as a villain in general, the fact that he is the peak, or they are the peak, because I believe it was a female that absorbed the male or whatever, like, this is the true peak of the Naruto villains. And it kind of makes me feel a little bit disappointed in a way, because when you have incredible villains like Orochimaru, he was an amazing villain. What he is now, I don't even fucking know. I mean, what it is now, because I don't even know what gender Orochimaru is going by nowadays. Is Orochimaru still considered a dude, or the fact that he's seemingly in a female's body? Do we say her? But either way, Orochimaru was an incredible villain, but at this point in the game, way outclassed. And we have Madara Uchiha, and to me, that is the supreme badass. I don't care who was stronger, because I guess technically Kaguya was stronger than Madara, and of course seemingly Momoshiki is stronger than Madara, but Madara was that supreme badass, the best backstory of all of them aside from Orochimaru, even though we didn't really get a backstory. So yeah, best backstory, Madara Uchiha. And when you see villains like Momoshiki, it almost makes me feel like, damn, if only they just ended the Naruto series with Madara. Because if we would have ended with Madara, we wouldn't have had to have Kaguya, which was a pretty big disappointment for the ending of the manga. We wouldn't have had to have Momoshiki, which has little to no backstory. It's almost like a turles tree of might shit, like, hey, I wanted to come to get the tree so I could keep on living and feeding off of it. That's it. So when you think in that regard, it's like, this is the supreme being, but ultimately there's not much to it. And at the same time, again, you gotta argue, are Naruto and Sasuke at their prime at this particular point, which they seemingly did take out the threat. I mean, they did the whole QB Susanoo transformation, you know, they had with the armor and stuff like that, and had them knocked out. And of course, again, it was the scientist people that fucked everything up or whatever. But like, if this is the peak of power as far as villains go, not including the unseen yet talents of Kawaki, because we did get at the beginning of the Boruto manga, ah yes, I'm gonna send you the way of the 7th Hokage, and seemingly Sasuke is dead too, because Boruto has his, you know, headband there or whatever, and it looks like possibly both of them are dead. We can't really include him though, because we don't really know much about Kawaki, and he's still like, he's a little kid at this point, especially in the story, so we can't include him. As far as up until this point, Boruto Naruto the movie and the Boruto manga, 8 chapters in, that is the biggest threat. And I'm kind of curious what people feel about this. First of all, do you feel as though ever since the ending of Madara, as far as villains go, it's been downhill? Not necessarily by power, because again, it's always been uphill from there regarding, like, you know, Kaguya being stronger. Like, they basically had to seal her. There was no way of defeating her. And then Momoshiki and Kinshiki. But as far as villains being, you know, just intriguing, having an interesting backstory, do you feel as though since Madara, it hasn't been the same? Because Kaguya, what was her backstory really? We got the filler. Essentially, she's just an alien and she's feeding off the tree. The tree made her go bonkers and she wanted all the chakra back, and she was preparing for a war with her family, and her family, again, the turles situation. So do you think that after Madara, it kind of just went downhill? Like, personally, I like to, in a way, toy with the idea that a lot of people toy with, the fact that the Naruto manga, to a certain degree, Madara won. And don't get me wrong, obviously that's just more so a fan thinking or whatever, but like, just think for a second if everything after Madara was the effects of the Moon Eye plan. I love that idea, just because it's like, when you got Momoshiki and Kinshiki and Kaguya in comparison to Madara, like, again, Madara will always be the greatest in Naruto villains for me, except maybe Orochimaru, but he was the badass. So to see from there, it's kind of like, And again, how do you guys feel about this Momoshiki Kinshiki motherfucker being the strongest villain in all of Naruto? Do you even disagree? Maybe you think that Kaguya was stronger, because the thing about Kaguya having her army and creating her White Zetsu army, it was mainly because she was outnumbered. So you got to think, okay, maybe on a one-on-one, she could have taken out either of them, but the fact that she was outnumbered, and maybe she knew of the capabilities of them basically fusing, that's why she created the White Zetsu army. But again, all signs point to the fact that Momoshiki is the strongest, and it's like, why? And if you have read the Boruto manga up until this point, 8 chapters in, I believe, as of the recording of this video, what do you think about it? How you feeling about Momoshiki's new design? I mean, I love the new design. The new design is great, impressive. It looks more like Kaguya or Sage Madara and shit like that, so it looks pretty damn cool, although some people say it looks like Aizen's ultimate transformation from Bleach. But again, that's besides the point. How do you feel? This is the face of the supreme villains in Naruto, at least for now, until we get more after this recap of the movie in the Boruto series. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and Madara Uchiha for the win, no matter what, baby. That was the badass I loved.